this story that we're talking about, this great year that you're experiencing with your team, stories like this are happening right through the entire grassroots landscape. Maybe not to the same extent in terms of its success, but in every league there's a story. In every rivalry there's attention drawn to it over a course of a season, and this attention is today's currency. Local and national brands want to try and connect with the grassroots audience, which is significant. From Striker Alliance perspective, we see an opportunity at the grassroots level, at the team level, where team is a product, just like what you've got 8-9 players there that have come out of an academy and formed a core of a number of teams. And that team is a product. That under 16 team has been a product. Irrespective of how good they are, they can still sell themselves as a product, as a content creator that businesses can link in with in order to get their message out. And at Striker Online, this is focus teams and clubs to realize the value of that content and to become more commercially aware of how to link it with companies that are searching for user-generated opportunities, content opportunities like this.
Yeah, it's very important because we recently launched our development draw in order to try and fundraise to improve our facilities, like hopefully maybe having an Astro pitch. We're increasing our car parking within the club within the next couple of months because car parking is at a premium space. So all of that costs money. So obviously, I suppose before, sponsorship was always thought of someone sponsoring a jersey. So the money, okay, it's great, but it's gone immediately on those jerseys. So really what, as a club, we need to be doing is trying to get sponsors in so that the money that's brought in can be used towards the facilities. And revenue streams like that are vitally important. And I suppose the importance of social media was hit home to me when we had our post about winning the Under-16 SFAI Cup, where I think the reach was 22,000 people, which is a huge amount. So if you had someone that was associated with that, a business, that's a lot of customers that they're reaching by that one post. The video of Maya Murphy getting the second goal in the SFAI Cup final had a couple of thousand views. Again, if there was a company linked in with that, that's an awful lot of advertising for that company to get a buck for their dollar, So it's very, very, it's an important aspect of it, and it's something that we're working really, really hard on with the likes of trying to sell advertising signs around the ground to local businesses because all that money helps towards the future development of the club, because even with the availability of grants, you're still going to need 50% of the money that you need to develop yourself.
So Ian, you hit on something really important there, and this is what I've been kind of talking about. So the old system, and I use this story because I played an All-Ireland final against the Home Farm 1973 team, against Mark Kenny's team. And we played them in the Troy Cup the year before as under-13s. I think we played them under-14s the year after in the All-Ireland final. And the sponsor, I have these two photographs, one final after the other, and these are 40-year-old photographs. So I was looking at them, and Axon was the company that sponsored us. And what I noticed was that in the 2 years, we had two different sets of gear. We had a brand new set of gear the year after, same sponsor. But my point was that the photograph was black and white, one of the only things that survived from that time, and the only bit of content from the game. I mean, I can't find anything else. The sponsorship system has not changed.
No. Because sometimes you don't need the gear to be replaced, but the sponsor will still give it, and we're very grateful to them, don't get me wrong, but I suppose the bigger picture is that you could use that money and invest it in the facilities, for your future of the club.
Well, even what I'm trying to communicate and beating the drum about is that, and this comes from pure experience of videoing games, photographing games, covering games, just seeing the whole dynamic, and learning from stuff being done in the United States and stuff being done by more progressive clubs in Europe, is that most of the pictures we see that are actually out there are actually the back of a player, right? Most of the stuff that's seen on social media, 90% of the pictures that you see will be the back of a player. So first of all, I wanted to encourage teams to realize they can have multiple sponsors. And because of the content we're creating now, the match is maybe 10% of the content because it's the story that goes along with it. So we've been analyzing this thing and studying this thing, and any team that is progressive and thinks about the immortalizing the journey, their football journey, has an opportunity with their mobile phone to actually begin building value in the content, to build the content and create value. Now, what we do at Striker Online, and we've got partners involved in this as well. You talk about 22,000 views. We amassed over 1.8 million views at a recent tournament, a weekend tournament called the Robbie Keane Academy Cup. That'll just give you an idea of the type of views, because when you cluster things together, and when clubs compete on the pitch but collaborate off it, that's when you get the exposure. Now, the sponsors are delighted with that. And a lot of teams and clubs don't understand they haven't twigged that while they compete on the pitch, it's collaborating off it that increases the size of the cake for everybody. And when we twig this, when we finally twig this, we'll understand that it's in creating the story and creating the energy around our games, around our leagues, around our players, that's going to bring more and more eyeballs. And that's what we do with over 100,000, nearly 100,000 followers in Striker Online. And we have partners as well that work with us. What we want to do is provide a guaranteed eyeballs, like what you just talked about there. So you're not just waiting for that particular moment. Oh, we may get 22,000 views. We may get 250,000 views. By working together, the views are almost guaranteed over a season, over a year. Okay, because it's a constant rollout of content with regards to grassroots football, and the content, of course, is coming from the team, and that's where the crux is. If we as a grassroots community can empower individuals, volunteers, doesn't have to be the coach. You don't even want it to be the coach, but in every community, in every team, there's a community. And in that community, there's parents or different people that can take on a different role. And that's learning how to do 5 activities that are content. And all of a sudden, then the social media manager in the club now has content coming from that team. But not only that, but Striker Online is committed to sharing that content once it's done in a way that satisfies the sponsors. And to explain what I mean by satisfying the sponsors is to make sure that we're putting the content up and we're tagging the sponsors, to make sure that we're bringing them along in the journey. Because up to now, and I'd like to finish off on your own previous experience, because I've worked on both sides. I've worked in sponsoring teams, in sponsoring projects, and I've always wanted to see my return on investment. Always. I said, look, we're giving you this. What am I getting in return? And what businesses value most right now is exposure, is to see their name, their brand, or their message being going out through a different way into a new market.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's definitely the way of the future. And it's something that we all need to kind of get savvy towards, because definitely social media is a huge hitter with getting your message across, and for showing a sponsor, well, if you come on board, this is what we can do for you, as opposed to what they can do for us.
Exactly. Once grassroots begins to think this way and begins to see itself a bank of attention, we have attention. No matter what, people will watch what their kids do. It's a staple diet. Football is a staple diet, and grassroots is an incredible incredibly important part of nearly every household in this country. If we begin to add in the ability of generating content and creating content at team level, we will be able to find new streams of income for teams, which can help to fight these key areas that you're talking about, which was, so player retention, volunteers, and facilities are what you feel are the biggest things on your agenda. You talked about facilities, so we can both invest in new facilities or we can rent out facilities. You talked about volunteers, player retention, the ability to retain players because you're able to invest more in them. They've got another
Yeah.
option to stay with the club. Money always helps, and that at Striker Online, that's what we're trying to do.